All right. And now the last digital metaphysics episode in this 3-part series on pure wave, command prompt, and reflective design. If you have not watched the 2 prior episodes on pure wave and command prompt, I do recommend watching those. They all deeply interweave into one another. So as we discussed in the last episode with command prompt, essentially what we have is we have you and we have your self-reflection. Now, I gotta shout out Martin Polanco Hesse from San Francisco. When I worked together with him, this was almost 10 years ago or so, we had an augmented reality project called Reflective Design. And it was so profound because there's been just so much, the profundity of being able to condense down consciousness, right, or you or the observer into what is a self-reflective hallucination. 10 years ago, it was like only a tiny bit of being able to see that that's what we were talking about and that's what we were working on. And now 10 years later, it's like reflective design is such a perfect terminology for what consciousness is doing, what it's up to. And if you think about it, it is like, we were doing it in augmented reality, but really this is, virtual reality, mixed reality, whatever you want to call it, augmented. It doesn't really matter because it's out of you, out of the observer, out of infinite potential, right? Is this hallucinated self-reflection, whatever you want to call reality, right? Doesn't matter if it's mixed, virtual, who cares? It's reality, right? It's your current experience, right? That is a complete self-reflection of you, okay? So if the entire thing is a self-reflection, that means whatever you believe you are, whatever programs you run, it is the reality that you see. Okay? Whatever, as we talked about in the pure wave episode, and we've talked about on the previous episodes, it's like there's a metric or a tensor. There's a multivariate flux of different attributes and ideologies and all kinds of things, right? Including the degree to which you believe that you are separate, the degree that you believe in local realism, the degree that you believe in your own sense of lack, right? The degree that you believe in separation. All of those things are the beliefs or the programs that you are running, and that is the self-reflective reality that you are experiencing, right? If you believe in separation, you are going to believe that this person's name is actually a separate person. This person's name is also a separate person, right? Now, if you don't believe in separation, if you're not running the program of separation, but instead you're running the program of unity, right? You're seeing from a place of unification or self-knowledge. Now, all of a sudden, your self-reflective hallucination is, even though this person has a different name, they are just me wearing that name, right? And I to them am just them or you or I just wearing a different name, right? So this is where everything becomes self-reflective. If you run the program of, I want to go to the gym, right? Or I want to be a great violinist or whatever. You run that program. I want to be a great basketball player. I want to be a great programmer, whatever it is. You are running that program, and now all of a sudden you are taking your violin classes, right? Or you are taking your basketball classes, or you are taking your coding classes, right? That's your self-reflective hallucination. It's based on your intention. It's based on what you believe you are, what programs you run. And all is a reflection for self-knowledge or self-exploration, meaning whatever you want to explore is the self-reflective reality that you are generating. Whatever. Anything. That's what freedom is. Freedom is the ability to choose anything out of infinite potential and be able to simulate that experience as a self-reflective hallucination. And you're doing that for self-knowledge. Like, why would you want to experience the dream of separation and then for that dream to end? Out of self-exploration, right? Out of self-knowledge, right? When I talk about this as a metric or a tensor, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a literal calculus or change over time that happens of the metric of the observer, right? So if the observer itself is undergoing the change, right, of these attributes from a contraction to an expansion, that's how you would mathematically describe the nature of ultimate reality. And then its appearance is some sort of an informational quantum geometric hallucination that's based on whatever programs or beliefs that it's running. But that's all out of self-exploration, whatever it wants to explore. Like a picnic or a buffet of infinite potential and possibilities is just playing with whatever it wants. That's what freedom is. Freedom is the ability to play with whatever potential you want. So freedom is not to say that everything has to fit in a certain model. No, it doesn't at all. Not even this model. Even though this is a physics, right? It's like the observer and whatever it believes is its self-reflective appearance. That's a literal physics, right? At the same time as if you want to say, oh, that's hooey, I don't care. Go ahead. There it is. You can believe whatever you want. You can believe that you exist inside of space-time as a finite entity. You can believe in local realism. You can believe in separation. You can believe in lack. You can believe in all of those things. Just like you can believe that you don't move. That you never move and that you never change and that you live as an infinite gravity while simulating whatever self-reflective hallucinations based on the codes that you run. You're free to choose. So it's like a matrix or a holodeck where every observer is you. Everything is a self-reflective hallucination, right? Like in matrix or like a holodeck, what you're seeing, right? What you're seeing is whatever code you're running, right? So if you're starting to see that every observer is you, that's when you're starting to wake up and become this omni-local entanglement. Waking up is about being omni-local and being entangled, being all local and being entangled, right? Everyone's you. No matter who you talk to is always you, right? No matter what experience you're simulating, it's always you. The moment that you don't believe that, is the moment that you believe in separation. It's the moment that you believe in the worry, the anxiety of, oh my gosh, how do I look? It's so much suffering and pain. It's unbelievable. But that's part of the self-exploration that you want to experience. You want to experience the hallucination of others judging you. You see, you want that hallucination. You want that dream. You want to viscerally feel the illusion of separation in that way, right? That's the paradox. That's the clownness or the jokerness to this infinite consciousness and the way that it interacts with itself. So in this matrix or holodeck, we're basically saying that the external world does not exist without your simulation. Again, gym, eggs, whatever. Even though the eggs are sitting down there in the fridge right now, right? They don't exist until I command prompt the self-reflective hallucination of go down and make some scrambled eggs and then eat them. Then I have that experience. I have that scene, right? The nature of the seam, S-E-A-M, is scenes, right? The nature of the seam is scenes, right? Whatever scenes you want, right? Everything that you self-reflectively experience are scenes of information, just like in acting and in movies and in video games and in anything that is created. Everything is a scene. It's a scene. And those scenes are scale invariant. You can say your whole life cycle is a scene. You could say just this year of experience is a scene. You could say going to make those eggs for breakfast is one scene, right? And that's what the nature of the seam is. It's the cyclic scenes that are all self-reflective based on what you choose, based on the code that you run. So if the observer runs the code of separation, it's going to dream a self-reflective hallucination of separation. If it runs the code of unity, it's going to dream a self-reflective hallucination of unity. You know, if it chooses out of potential this self-reflective dream of playing the violin, going to play basketball, etc., etc., etc. None of those things exist until you choose to bring them into your experience. So your simulation of whatever scenes, whatever content, right? The characters, the plot, the story, the environment, etc. is the only reality. This is the only reality. You get it? It's not like there's another reality somewhere else. You are the infinite reality. You are the ultimate command prompt. You are an infinite simulator of whatever you want. And there's nothing outside you. You know, this infinite God is you. And there's nothing outside of that, which is you. There's no more outsourcing. You have to just sit in yourself and be like, okay, that's the nature of what I am. And then it's like, okay, so now anything, it requires some sort of scene, right? Anything. You know, even the scene of getting thirsty and drinking water. This is a little like 5-second scene. Every single scene requires something like that. It requires some sort of content, right? And the majority of content is just like it is in a story, or just like it is in a movie, or just like it is in a video game, or whatever. It's just like that, right? Or in a book, right? It's just like that, meaning it's going to have characters, it's going to have a plot, it's going to have a story, an environment, etc., right? So, meaning when you say gym, what you're doing is you're simulating the self-reflective environment of a gym, right? So now you have your environment, you have your plot, right? Now you have your setting, you have your environment and your setting. Now what's the plot? Well, the plot is that I'm going to work out, right? That's the plot. I might do cardio, I might go swim in the pool, I might go and lift weights. Now, the characters, it's like, okay, well, am I going to go to the gym with my workout buddy, right? Are we going to go play basketball together? Are we going to go do that? So you might message one of the characters, right? Which is just you as the omni-local entangled observer in another body with another name, right? And you'll message yourself and be like, hey, you want to go to the gym? Want to work out? Yeah, sure. Or no, or whatever. But if it's yes, now you've added another character to your dinner or your workout or whatever you're doing, right? Okay. And all the characters at the gym that you quote don't know, they're not strangers. They're just you wearing bodies and names that you've just never met before, right? That's the difference. That's the difference. You're not hallucinating that there's actual real others and strangers. And now all of a sudden you start whenever you talk to someone, you're always talking to yourself. Okay? So why would you ever take a shank and start trying to, hurt yourself, right? When there's one being, it's like you would literally be poking into a cell of your own body and trying to hurt it or be unethical or immoral or any of that shit. That's why it doesn't work. When you wake up, you can't do that shanky thing anymore. You see what I mean? Waking up is about not seeing separation anymore. It's about being an omni-local entangled consciousness, right? The observer is non-local. It's omni-local. It's entangled, right? You have to take these properties from gravity, quantum mechanics, spirituality, awakening, consciousness. You have to take all of those properties, merge them into a singularity, and start seeing that way. If you want to be awake, otherwise, no problem. Run whatever programs you want of self-reflective drama, because you see, that's the whole point. The paradoxical Joker clown point is that when you run the program of separation, now you see these others, right? When you see these others that are not you, now all of a sudden you can shank, right? You can shank and you can be immoral or unethical, right? You don't care about the whole anymore, right? You care about the illusion of separation. You see? So the whole game is played right there. The entire game is played between the illusion of separation and the realization of there only being you. Da 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 da. So everything that you simulate is going to have like characters, a plot, a setting, environment, It's going to have these fundamental story elements. It's going to have fundamental movie or game or film or book elements to it. Everything that you simulate is going to be like that. Every scene that you generate is going to be like that. And now the only thing is, do you know that you're talking to yourself, or do you think that or do you dream, that you are talking to a separate person? So every experience is chosen and appears as a reflection. Every experience is chosen and appears as a reflection, including where you are sitting right now is your own choice. Nothing is not your choice. Everything is your choice. Everything is your will. Everything is your creation. You are the command prompt. Nothing exists outside of you. You are never a victim. You are never a victim to circumstances, ever. You are always the conscious creator of your own reality. Period. Now, that message is not going to land because you still want to hold on to your identity of outsourcing, of blaming, of being a victim, of all that stuff. Vast majority, very, very few want to be like, okay, I'm a non-local, omni-local, entangled observer as all people simultaneously. I want to live like that. It's like, dude, what is there, 1 million observers that are like that? You know what I mean? And that's the whole point, is that Why would you want it to be like a billion or 2 billion observers who see that way? That would not be a fun game, right? It's a fun game when 99% of the observers are dreaming separation. That's what makes it a fun game, you know? And that's why it's all about, you know, and we've drawn that out on the show, but it's so true and so real, just how like viscerally true this is, you know? You know, through the lotus. So that's like the single most crucial code, you know? If you get the tree and you get the cycle, if you get this, and then if you get through the lotus, like if you get that, you're basically done. Then you're just creating whatever you want out of freedom, whatever you want. But if you get this is so important because not only this gives you, that omni-local entangled observer self-reflectively simulating whatever it wants, but then you also get why is the world appearing this way? It's because of through the lotus. You want the world to appear this way. You want it to be a struggle for self-knowledge. Imagine you peer into a dreamscape and everybody knows what they are. It's just so boring. Now imagine you peer into a dreamscape and all of a sudden it's like everybody doesn't know what they are and everyone's yelling at each other and even warring with each other and killing each other and stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh. And it's so difficult to communicate anything of signal, of self-knowledge into that cultural mayhem because immediately it's just drowned in noise. And there's only like a couple thousand or tens of thousands of really true, like seeking energy observers trying to understand what they are. That's why this is such a crucial code. Every single most gemstone-like appearance looks like this. You, self-reflective hallucination, appearing like through the lotus. There you go. You have all of the code of reality, the physics of reality, just perfectly sitting within you. So every experience is being chosen and appearing as a reflection, including play the sport, eat this food, hang with X friend, work Y job, live in Z location, choose Q spouse, watch W movie, etc. Your choice is appearing as a reflection, right? So right? So your choice appears as reflection. So anything that is chosen, watch whatever movie, play whatever game, listen to whatever music, hang out with whatever friend, live in whatever location, etc. That's what's appearing as your reflection. Reflective design means your choice is appearing as your reflection. Your reality is completely and utterly a self-reflection. One way to look at what is actually happening in the omni-local entangled thing is that, you just have a bunch of other little eyeballs. So that's how you would see, right? Right? This omni-local entanglement. And every single one of these observers has their own little self-reflective hallucination that's happening. Right? Each one of these is their own little tree thing. You see what I mean? Should start making sense. Right? So this one has its own little self-reflective hallucination happening, just like you do and I do, etc. It's all one omni-local entangled observer, and each one has its own little information self-reflection that's happening based on the code that it's running, based on what it's choosing. So, infinite echo chamber of only you. So, this is where you get the scale invariant and fractal-like nature of things. It's all right here in your own direct experience right now, if you want to choose to see that way. So what do I mean? Infinite echo chamber of only you. Okay, if the observer is seen to be omni-local and entangled, right? That means you are in all bodies simultaneously right now. And that means that no matter who you go and talk to, right? It's always going to be you. And it's always going to be an echo chamber, meaning it's always going to be whatever you choose that you want to simulate as a scene is going to appear as a self-reflective hallucination. It's going to be an echo chamber, right? You say something, that is going to echo and appear as a gym. I want to go to the gym. It echoes and appears as a gym, right? When you say something like I'm saying right now, hey, like, check this out, digital metaphysics, check this out, check out these codes, right? It acts as a little gravity vortex for any observer that feels resonance with the code, right? The code it doesn't belong to anyone. That's the other thing. If no one is everyone, that means the codes themselves do not belong to people. You know what I mean? The codes themselves are the vacuum and its flux, right? So the code Even though it can be like, yeah, there was an origination point through that body or whatever that decided to make airplanes or that decided to make computers or make this app on smartphones or whatever. It's that then you have a bunch of quote observers who go and say, I love that app on the phone, or I love that code that I'm seeing on that channel, right? And then it's just a vortex of creating from all of those observational points, creating that code as channels through those bodies, right? Just like the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, right? It's like there's just code channeling through observers that represent those ideologies, right? Which is the same thing as when I talk about regenerative infrastructure and regenerative communities in these new light cities. When that dings in the observer and it's like, I love those codes, then you vortex together into being the vessel for those codes to transmit through and into the non-locally real dream field. So you can free yourself of the obligation of needing to sell your time for basic needs. And you can begin living in a waking up every day and being totally free. So no matter what, you're always hallucinating experiences with yourself. No matter if it's a parent, if it's a child, if it's a spouse, if it's a friend, if it's a family member, if it's a coworker, it doesn't matter. A stranger, it's always yourself. It's always you. That's what unity means. It's always you. So it's like an unmoving scientist, explorer, adventurer, artist, dreamer, simulator. And the question is, what choices will I make? What will I dream? What will I simulate? Unmoving, unchanging observer, peering in to whatever its little hallucinated dreamscape that it wants to play in, wants to explore, it wants to be an artist, it wants to be a scientist and investigate, it wants to make choices, right? How do I see? If I run this program of separation, I might do the little shanky thing, right? If I don't run separation, if I run unity, then I'm not going to do the shank thing, right? So I make different choices based on what programs I run. And then that is what feeds back into the dream that I experience, right? If I shank, then I go to jail. You see, if I don't shank and I have a unity, then I may have some sort of blissful experience of connection and community. So, what experiences do I want to investigate? What out of infinite potential shall I create? That's the question that was asked an eternity ago, a timeless eternity ago. And that's the question that will be asked for timeless eternities forever. What experiences do I want to create? What out of infinite potential do I want to experience? You're literally asking yourself that question right now. Every moment, every choice is the command prompt. Prompt by prompt, script by script, choosing out of infinite potential whatever you want. You're not changing, but your reality field is changing. And you find all of your freedom in seeing that there's no separation. All of me is an omni-local entangled consciousness, observer, called God, right now, talking to myself. And forever, that this will never change. This will always be one infinite creator talking to itself. It will always be me choosing whatever scenes of experience that I want to creatively play and explore. This will not change. The contraction into whatever dream will. All kinds of variations of contraction and all kinds of expansions back home. This will not change. This will not change. That will not change. This will not change. None of this will change. This is a physics of you. These will not change. This is you as an infinite creator forever appearing like this. The physics of yourself. Welcome home. Enjoy. And that's our episode on reflective design. And that also concludes our 3-part digital metaphysics weave on pure wave, command prompt, and reflective design. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Love you. Love to hear from you in the comments below. Drop a comment with your feels. And share if there's resonance. And enjoy your self-reflective hallucination. All right. Much love. See you more soon. A lot more fun content planned. Bye-bye.